Learning detachment saved me from a lot of pain and suffering, and I think it can help you as well. I learned the hard way, like I always like to, that attaching myself to expectations, to ideas, even intuitive nudges, has caused a level of suffering that is not necessary at all. And so I think people get a little they get a little tripped up on the word detachment because it can sound like surrendering, it can sound like disassociation, it can sound like apathy, and that's not the case at all. So I want to go through a couple examples of how I've used it for work, how I've used it for relationships, and how those have played out really well for me. Like with attachment, we want to hold on to something. I think part of the reason why attachment doesn't work is because it has us holding on to something and it puts pressure on situations that don't need them. Nobody wants to feel pressure and it blocks the flow of energy. So it can't move through. Things can't move through because it's chained to something. Anytime we put expectations on anything, we end up being disappointed because we have assumed something. And this is tricky because there are some things that we can put expectations on, like when you order something, when you know that something exists and you called to have it in your life, of course that's easy to have. But when it's something that is an unknown, we don't know the end goal, we don't know what's going to happen at the end, we don't know how people are going to respond to things. It's really difficult to assume that someone's going to follow a script or a playbook that's in your head that they have no idea about. When I was working in corporate America, when I was working at a very corporate position, I wanted to be very involved. And I thought that part of showing that I was a team player and that I was really engaged was to really invest in the project. I may be a little intense, I don't know, but the way people responded to me was that I was a little much. And I just wanted to like show up and be really involved. And it actually ended up being really difficult to work with people because they were also trying to play and be involved in these projects just as much. And there's political games that get played in corporate environments. And so I had to learn not to quietly quit. That's not what detachment means, but there's this sense of I'm going to back away. I'm going to do a really good job. I'm going to do the things that I want to do, but I'm going to just let things fall as they may. I don't need to push any agenda. I don't need to push my point of view. I'm getting paid to show my expertise. I offer it, I put it on the table. You take it, you don't take it. It doesn't matter. I have fulfilled my position and my job, and I will go ahead and follow whatever orders need to happen, right? Whatever it needs to do. By doing that, by getting tired of having games being played on me, having people being nice to my face and backstabbing, once I just detached from it, I leaned back. I did what I needed to do, and I leaned back and I didn't worry about it as much. I would get actually more money. I would get more raises. I would get more opportunities for projects. I had better engagements with my colleagues, with my superiors, with my directors, my managers, because I wasn't trying hard to do anything. I just was. And it probably, now looking back, was probably this like intense, like wanting so hard to do a good job where I just did a job and I did it well. And that was the good job. And it just was what it was. And it was a little eye-opening at the time. This was over 10 years ago when I started to understand this, that it made my workload lighter. I was less stressed. This was easier to maintain, and I got more in return by detaching from an outcome, by letting it be whatever it needed to be, and just simply flowed. And the same thing happens in relationships, where no one really wants someone that's clingy, that's really intense with them. Not that I'm clingy or intense, but there's that sense of expectations and wanting things, and you just want to flow. You want things to flow to you. This is really great in manifestation as well. And manifestation is really just us. It's us deciding what we want, knowing that it's going to happen, and letting it just happen. And some of the best manifestations that I've had, I didn't even realize I was manifesting. That's how detached I was. It was a whole body. That would be amazing to have. I really would love to have this. And I really just put it in the back of my mind. And it didn't matter when it was going to come. It wasn't anything important. So I wasn't trying to hold on to like this thing has to happen at any certain specific time, but within a timely manner, within maybe like a month or so. Sometimes it was like 2 weeks, things happened. This place that I'm in right now was one of those. I had looked at it a year before, wasn't quite ready. Found another apartment that was what I really liked at the time. It was smaller. I had to leave. I found another place. I was only there 2 months. And I had before that had visions of like a place that I really wanted that had really specific things to it. So I knew like the next place I wanted to move, that was going to have it. The place I ended up in was just me sacrificing what I wanted. I felt like I was pushed up against the wall that I had to find a place. And it didn't work out because that's not what it was supposed to do, but it prepped me for this move. So I moved twice in 2 months. It was awful. I thought I was getting, a gut punch from the universe twice because I kind of wanted to stay at the original place, but I couldn't stay there. Couldn't stay at the second place. And this one just kind of popped up and it happened really quickly. I was ready to go immediately. I had been driving by 2 weeks prior that I knew I was going to move. I didn't even know I was going to move, but I had driven by this area and I just thought, this is so cute. I would love to live here. I was on the corner when I thought that, and I literally moved right where the place is on the corner. And lo and behold, I'm looking at this place. It felt like it pulled me in. The property owner was amazing. He was really wonderful. It was really quick. I moved in within 2 weeks. And I realized that this was the place that I had looked at. I don't think it was this exact apartment, but this apartment complex, which doesn't have a lot of units in it, a year ago. So I was already like wanting to have this happen. At that time when I needed to move, I could have gone anywhere. I was working remote. I just needed a good Wi-Fi connection and just a safe, quiet place. So I was just looking anywhere in the area that would make sense for me. I wasn't attached to anything specific. We all have our requirements for what we need. But for the most part, I had like a 40-mile radius. I really could have gone anywhere. It really didn't matter as long as it was in the time zone to be in, to be honest. And it just sort of worked out because I was really clear on what I really did want. And I was really specific with it. And then I let it go. And so I think it's a tricky thing to understand of this letting go while wanting something specific. And there's that nuance of it's going to happen because I've decided it's going to happen. And I'm allowing myself to release any expectations. And usually when you release the expectations, it comes out pretty close to what you think it is. And if it doesn't, it's usually because something better's on the way. And the byproduct of that, of detaching and opening yourself up, is that you don't suffer in the process. Most suffering comes from us in this wanting, which is a lack desire, which is a lack mentality. I don't have this thing, so I'm going to want it. It starts to create the distance between having it and not having it. And I'm sure you've heard this idea that you're supposed to believe that you have it. I believe I'm a multi-gazillionaire, and all of a sudden it happens. I would stair step it and think, what's actually something that you could attain that wouldn't be that crazy, and then you stair step it up and up and up. So that it wouldn't be impossible that a little bit of money pops in, or a free ice cream comes your way, or something that you really, really want. And you just kind of let it go. So the more that we learn how to detach, the less suffering that we're going to have. And I think that's amazing. And we ease out of the heaviness, we ease out of the expectation, we ease out of being attached to things that don't serve us anymore. And we allow things to just be released and let them go and move on to the next thing. Nature doesn't hold on to anything. It just grows and it goes through a cycle and it repeats itself. And it does it seamlessly. Flowers bloom and there's no resistance or attachment. Caterpillars don't hold on to being a caterpillar. They get into their chrysalis and they become a butterfly, and it just moves through beautifully. Let the flow of energy move through you. Let your natural flow of energy move through you. And the idea of detachment is really just allowing that to move. And it's not about being apathetic or surrendering. And surrendering really is, you just let it go. You still take action. We're not waiting for anything. We still move forward. We just allow what comes in and out. I'm sure you've had relationships or friendships, romantic ships, where people have to kind of come in and out sometimes. Everyone's on their own path, and sometimes it's an ebb and flow. And there are certain relationships that they just needed a little bit of a timeout or a little bit of space for them to come back together again. And that's okay, because we're better for it. We've grown. Maybe one person grew and the other didn't, and it's just a different reality check. And you just allow it to be. And the goal is that we can reduce the suffering because we're not held on to any past old ideas, that we shift through it and we detach from what was and we stay in the present moment. And then we move into the next moment. So I hope this was beneficial and helpful. Thank you for being here. I love you all, and I will see you in the next time. Take care. Bye.